Hello everyone, my name is Brett, and sometimes I wear a beret, and this is the Buzzbee Thundershot. Man, this blaster went through a lot when it was released in 2021. I would know. I was there. I've made a few videos about this blaster. You can check them out if you want to. I won't go into all the details, but the long story short is that there was a defective version of this blaster that was released to most store shelves and online. We made some noise about it. Buzzbee and Adventure Force did eventually take those models off the shelves, I think, or at least they're working on it. If you bought a defective unit, you were able to get a refund. I think they did an okay job with that. But as people made noise about this relatively inexpensive $10 blaster, many people brought up an old blaster of the past, the recent past, that had a similar debacle that seemingly didn't have a same conclusion, the Nerf Elite 2.0 Warden. But Elite 2.0 has now been out for over a year. The Warden was the most notorious because it broke. A lot of them broke. Cue the montage.
Broken, broken, do not buy. Poor quality, not working, do not buy. Broke on Slamfire, literally doesn't work. Too broke, no. Avoid for now, avoid at all costs. Avoid this blaster, it is terrible. Cheaply made, cannot repair. Repair guide, because it broke. Absolutely awful, 15-minute speed run, not good, do not buy. E-bad.
Now, I'm not here to cast doubt on those reviews. I genuinely believe that people received faulty products and then they made negative reviews expressing their frustrations. I would do it too. And I did. A faulty product is a faulty product, and I will make noise. The Warden comes in at 20 United States dollars, so slightly more expensive, but also still not super expensive. The point remains. Oh, and also one other small difference. You can open this blaster pretty easily, diagnose the problem. Elite 2.0 is pretty well and tight, solvent shut. So that kind of sucks. As you can probably tell, I went out and bought one. Though I should say I didn't go out to my local Walmart, because none of my local Walmarts are well stocked. So I did order one from online. It was discounted from 20 to 15 United States dollars. And if you've got a keen eye, you may have noticed I bought two. And for a fun piece of trivia, these two blasters, both of these two Wardens, are my first Elite 2.0 blasters that I've ever owned and purchased with my own money. That's kind of weird. I never bought anything from Elite 2.0. I guess I stood my ground and said, no, I ain't doing that. Yet I've bought almost every Ultra Blaster that came out of curiosity. Now this one's still in package, but the other one I have already played with. I was taking it out of the package because I wanted to see, could I do it? Could I break the blaster on camera? The first few shots. That's what I thought was going to happen. The blaster's so bad, I've got to be able to do it. Folks, I'm a little disappointed to say I was unable to break the Warden in my initial testing, and I've fired it well over 200 times now. I know, it's a bit cynical. I wanted this thing to break because it would have made a better video, I guess. But no, it actually functioned. I tested it a few different ways. Trying to single fire it, shoot it two at a time, slam fire, and then I tried it with darts, without darts, and yeah, it held up. Now, I will talk more about how the experience was, but the blaster in its current state is not broken. Sorry, you probably want to see me prove it. Come here, get over here. Look, it's the Warden, one of the best blasters Nerf has ever made. Huzzah! In case I've never explicitly called out the naming convention here, Elite 2.0 is the newest version of Elite blasters. So all the blasters in the Elite 2.0 line, or at least the first wave of Elite 2.0 blasters, are based on a pre-existing Nerf Elite model. So the Warden is based off of the Rough Cut, and I have used the Rough Cut in my days. I purchased it when it first came out, and I really liked it. Not like my favorite blaster of all time, but there's a lot to love, and when it did come out, it offered something that was kind of unique. But here's some old footage of me using it. It's fun to top off on the fly. It's great that you can slam fire it and basically rattle off 8 shots super fast, and you can do 2 at a time, or fire 1 and then 2. But the Warden is the, how should I say, reimagining of the Rough Cut, because it's definitely not a new and improved version. But they do both cost the same price. And that's one area that Elite 2.0 seemed to do quite well in. at least until they started getting a little bit weirder, and then the flip shots are a little bit more expensive. And then it came with 2 times the number of darts needed. The darts, of course, are nothing special. They're just a slight recoloring. The blue of the Elite dart is now more teal, and then, of course, the inverted nature of these orange with blue heads. So once again, to operate the Warden, prime back, prime forward, and now if you carefully squeeze the trigger, you can fire 1 dart, and then fire the other. It took me a long while to get used to doing that on this blaster. I remember it being really straightforward to do with a rough cut. But for some reason, I have to like really focus on the Warden to make it happen. As you can see, I can do it, but it was like really frustrating at first, and I think I mastered it. That said, pull down all the way, you'll fire 2. And if you hold the trigger, it does have slam fire. So you can fire off 8 shots really quickly, as I will show right here. And that's incredibly satisfying. I did put this up on my small chronograph really quickly. The first dart is going to be the most powerful, and the last dart is going to be the least powerful, because that's just how the smart AR system works. It travels from the top to the bottom, and the first dart you fire is this top one, and the last dart you fire would be this bottom one. So the top barrel could get upper 60s, maybe low 70s feet per second, and then the last barrels are going to be down in the 50s. That said, I don't think that's anything strikingly different than what the rough cut did, though the box does claim 80 feet, 85 feet. The box claims that this can outperform the previous rough cut model. Why you do this? What is this? Stop lying to me. Also interesting, on the back of the box, it calls out the tactical rail, pump action slam fire, obviously, but then it says blast 2 darts at once, as if you're not supposed to be able to fire just 1 at a time, even though you're definitely able to because it's based off of the rough cut, which had that as a feature. But where does this blaster start to fall apart? Using this thing is not as fun. I can definitely say that. It's so shocking how cheap this blaster feels in comparison to anything else Nerf, even in these modern times. Because I have other blasters I can compare the feel of this plastic and the functionality, and it's just strikingly different. For example, the handle's not terrible. It's reasonably sized for my hand, but then there's like this awkward notch right here, which gets right in the way of my finger when I'm actually gripping the blaster and like, oh, why is this notch here? That's annoying. Pieces that make weird cracking noises. The plastic just has a different feel to it, like it's not even Nerf brand. It's more comparable to Nerf's budget line, that being Alpha Strike, but man, it's so weird when you just start playing around. It's like, oh, flexy flexy. That's not concerning at all, is it? That's where my plunger tube is. What was the last Nerf blaster I could do like this and actually get visible compression on it? What the heck, dudes? I'll admit I like the overall design choices they made with the Warden, and honestly, all the Elite 2.0 blasters. They definitely made them slightly different than their pre-existing models. You know, some sharper corners, for better and for worse. But the teal, I do kind of like that. The way that the orange pops against it as well, having this underneath pop where the logo is. Unfortunately, it comes off a lot cheaper in person than what was advertised. Because if you look at the box really quickly, on the back, I actually kind of like that. But that makes me think I wish it had some like white detailing on the blue to make it pop even more. That's not what you're gonna get for this budget-friendly option, because it seemed like the only way they were able to make this match the price of a pre-existing rough cut was to cut some major corners. To rough cut some major existing corners, I'm sorry. So I say again, after firing this blaster many, many times, hundreds of times, it still does function. But the user experience is incredibly diminished, and let me show you why. This pump grip, which has often been the point of failure, is incredibly janky. But you see that flashing on the very front? Ew, that's gross. What the heck, Hasbro? And even as I was playing around with it a little bit more, you can see some right here, and that's sharp. That doesn't happen on Nerf blasters. Nerf is known as the quality brand, and they tout that as if it's a super big selling point that no one else can match. But let me show you the beautiful priming experience of the Warden. This is not a smooth prime at all. I can get it stuck right there. Now this is fully primed back, and obviously if you slam it forward, you'll be fine to fire. But let me show you where it can also get stuck along the way back. push, 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 push. Locked. Fire. This is such a gross prime. There is like so much friction on this prime. It makes it feel super, super cheap, which I'm pointing out because I can't recall the last time I had this kind of garbage prime from a Nerf blaster. Some of their rival offerings have been really, really nice. And this, ooh, and then if I, ow, frick, Jesus, that's a lot sharper than I hate that. I hate that so much. I almost just cut my finger on that. Hasbro. And another crucial area for functionality would be the trigger. Now this trigger is also pretty crunchy. I realize it's probably a little difficult to get on camera. It's not a smooth trigger pull. I can't believe I'm comparing it to this. You know what that is? That's a spring. I can feel different stages of this trigger like trying to catch as I pull it back. It's so gross. Also, I don't love the grooves on this thing, but really it's just the feel of using this blaster. And you know why? There's no springs in here. It's leaf springs, it's plastic, it's part of the trigger. They're not actually using a separate metal spring for the trigger functionality. And I know that because I've seen the internals. Shout out to Project Nerf. I guess the top as well, the N-Strike tactical rail is also that cheaper version. I don't know, they started doing that on most of their blasters too, but great to see it on Elite 2.0 as well. I think the paint overall is fine, because there is no paint. It's just like the Nerf logo on one side and the Warden logo on another side, and then everything else is just the Elite 2.0 shining through, and those dots, which are squishy squishy. It shows where the cost cutting went into this blaster. So again, mine does still work, and if I pay attention, 1, 2, I can actually fire it in succession, and I can empty all the rounds from the front. What did I just cut my finger on this time? What the heck? Oh my gosh, I take it back. No, it works okay. It's so sharp in the front. Why is this? I'm not even gonna finish what I was just saying. We're opening the second one to see if that's got a similar problem. Snip, 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 snip. Out. Here's the one I just took out of the box. Here's the previous one. The one that's gonna cut my hand off. Now if I look at the front of this guy, there's no actual flashing on the pump grip of this one. Still, you can get the priming stuck wherever you want it on the return because there's just so much friction and it feels gross. Ooh. Whoa, wait a minute. This one feels so different to use. This is way easier to single fire. I guess comparing and contrasting is useful even if you got both from the same online source. Anything sharp in the front here I should be aware of? Oh! Whoa, would you look at that? Ah, there's flashing on the very front here as well. Right here. Oh, that's so gross. Because your hand wraps around in the front. If you have a slightly larger hand than this pump grip, you will want to be like grabbing it there when you go to fire it. Or at least like when you return on the front, you could rub against this little nub. The barrels are like kind of scratched up already. I guess this is an open package, so it could have been damaged in transit. I won't blame Nerf for that one. The other one, I swear, would like fight you to get single shot operation. But it still has the flashing in the front, so at least there's some consistencies there. Oh my gosh, it actually drew blood. I'm not gonna show you this on YouTube, sorry, but the Warden has tasted blood. This thing wants me dead. But what are my initial thoughts on this year-plus-old Nerf Elite 2.0 Warden? I guess not all of them break upon first use. That's good to hear. Again, I'm not doubting the existing reviews on these blasters that show some versions broke, so this is either the exact same version they put out over a year ago, or this is something they slightly updated and now that's what I'm holding. But I'm inclined to say it's the exact same as what they first released, and I just got lucky and got a functional unit. So with all that being said, would I recommend the Warden? No. I wouldn't recommend this blaster even though it seems to do what it does. Would I use this in a game? Would I run that in a war? Sure, till it breaks. These are fun when they work, but they were more fun when they worked as a rough cut. The rough cut has a solid place in my heart as a fun foam flinger from my earlier days of nerfing. Knowing what this is based off of makes it even worse. But at the same time, if it does function, I can't completely fault it. I just don't think I would recommend it to people. You can see the cheapness. You can feel the cheapness. I need a Band-Aid. I just hope that Nerf has heard the noise and they realize when their cost cutting is on full display, people are not happy. You can cut some costs on blasters, I understand it, but to this extent, not so good. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Let me know if you've picked up the Warden before or you have any other thoughts on Elite 2.0, what you'd like to see from Elite 2.0 in the future, and I will be sure to go out and buy all those blasters for future reviews. I don't need to buy any more of these blasters in the meantime. Thanks again everyone, and I will see you next time.